Today we're going to demonstrate the demonstration of our TRAD-600 radiating cable with easy end male connectors. The first step in the process is going to be a nice square clean cut on the cable. We'll do that by using our CCT01 cable cutting tool. Take the cable, place it into the cradle of the tool, apply a little bit of pressure with the knife, and spin the tool around the cable. What you're doing is you're scribing through the jacket, you're scribing through the dielectric, and you're scribing into the center conductor, and you make a nice clean cut without crushing the cable, which is very important. You want to maintain the impedance of the cable right to the end of the cable. The next step is you have to expose 1/4 inch of center conductor. One easy way of doing that, you want to use some type of a ruler or scale to measure that. We actually have our slide rule has a ruler on the edge of it. It's one way of doing it. Take the cable, place it against the slide rule, against the ruler on the slide rule, and I'd recommend using some type of a straight razor. You can also use a knife, a very sharp knife, but a straight safety razor is a sharp razor. It's a very, very good means of doing this. You just want to get it started 1/4 inch from the end of the cable. Apply a little bit of pressure down to the center conductor. Now what I would do is just take that blade and just rotate it right around the circumference of the cable. You're going to be very careful to keep that blade straight. You want that slot, that cut to line right up with the initial cut, right around the circumference of the cable. And just take that piece and remove it. You now have a 1/4 inch of exposed center conductor. Nice clean cut. Next step in the process, you want to remove 200 thousandths of jacket material. Again, place the cable right up against the slide rule. And this doesn't have to be exactly 200 thousandths, roughly 200 thousandths. Again, you take your blade. Now in this case, all you're trying to do is remove the jacket. The jacket is PVC, it's a fairly soft material, it's only 25 thousandths thick, so you want to be a little careful. If you do happen to cut the outer connector in this instance, it's not a concern. The connector is going to slide over that cut, so it's not going to impact your electrical results. But it's just the same. All you want to do is remove that portion of the jacket. So you got your mark, take your blade, again run your blade around the circumference of the cable, very gently. Again, you're only trying to cut through 25 thousandths of jacket. Take the blade in the same axis of the center conductor, apply a little pressure. Now all you do is just grab a hold of that, just peel that jacket right off. And you now have your exposed core. You can see how that outer conductor is partially covering that core. Next step in the process, you take your DBT-01 deburr tool. You want to deburr that center conductor. Place it over that, and some back and forth motions, half a dozen back and forth motions, applying a little bit of pressure. And what you end up doing is put a very nice chamfer on that center conductor. And that's very important because you have a beryllium copper spring finger center conductor that's going to ride over that center conductor. So you want to make sure that you deburr that center conductor. You can use a file. If you're going to use a file, you want to make sure you get 360 degrees all the way around. Don't leave any sharp burrs on that center conductor. Next step in the process, you slide your adhesive lined Adams shrink boot over the cable, your crimp ferrule, slide that over the cable, and you have your 3190-1268 EZ-600 NMH-B connector. Place that over the core, push it right up to the jacket. At this point here, the back of the connector's got a little bit of a chamfer on it. You want to get this connector underneath the jacket. You're just going to twist this back and forth a little bit, just a little bit. Right away you can see that connector rides up underneath the jacket. Continue to back and forth motion. Now at this point here, you feel some resistance. That center conductor has just making contact with the beryllium copper spring finger. So at that point, like a little extra push, You can see now how that connector is slid farther back onto the cable. That connector is now all the way onto the cable. It's onto the center conductor. The spring finger is riding over the center conductor. You bring your ferrule up as far as it'll go. Take an HX4 crimp tool. You want to die a 610 hex crimp die. This is a very nice tool. It's a ratchet type tool. You open it up. Once you start to crimp, it won't open up until you crimp all the way. You want to get your ferrule right up to the back of the connector, and again you want your crimp die right up to the back of the connector also. That's where you want to make your crimp. And with this particular connector, it's a fairly large connector, you actually need the leverage of this tool. Crimp it all the way down until it releases. You see that little bit of ferrule that flares out? You want to leave that. You do not want to crimp that again. If you do crimp that again, you risk crushing the jacket, crushing the core a little bit, so you just want to leave that. You take your adhesive line shrink boot, you bring it all the way up to the back of the coupling nut. And you want to take a heat source, either a butane heat gun or electric heat gun. You shrink that down. It's a 3-to-1 shrink ratio. You shrink it down until you see a lip of adhesive coming out either end, both ends of the boot. And that's all there is to it. Thanks a lot.